All right, ladies, let's rock and roll. So happy Thursday night to everybody. Of course, we are excited. Allie and I are really excited for this element. So this is probably one of the most important elements in the book, alongside element 4. And why they've got it here, I don't know really the answer, but it could be pretty much anywhere in the book. But it's a great place. And here again, I've had some new clients this week who couldn't make it this evening. They've got some church activities, but they want to watch this one because matter of fact, one's popping in now, so we'll let her in. And this is one of those elements where it could be anywhere in the book, but it's a good one to start with for some folks. And this is about changing your perspective in the lens that you look at this program through, changing that lens. And here again, for many of us, especially new clients and so forth, they come into this program, and I know I'm guilty of this, Allie. We've all been guilty of this. We come into this program looking at it from a diet perspective. Mm-hmm. So pulling back that lens and really changing the way we look at this process. And and here again, tonight, element 23, master your thoughts and emotions. So what do you think about when you see that? How do you become that surgical master of your mind? How do you slow down and not react to everything that's thrown at you? So yes, holidays are here. Yes, I went to the mailbox today and I've got 1 inch thick of property tax bills. So that's stressful for me. It used to be stressful for me. So for many people, when they see all those bills, they're like, it's that time of year. Well, guess what? I paid all my tax bills a month ago. So the bills came in, they're already paid. So I took that out of the equation. So that's how we become that surgical master of our mind. So that used to be a stressful thing for me because that was always, well, Merry Christmas. There goes a bunch of money out the window. So a little bit of pre-planning, a little bit of foresight, and not that big a deal. But, of course, tonight, mindset, skill set, and action with element 23. The mindset is determine your readiness to step onto a conscious path that will move you from a state of ego or self-orientation to one of becoming more social and in service of mankind. Becoming more social and in service of mankind. We don't have to stay in our little closet. It's encouraged to live this out loud. It raises your accountability. In service of mankind, going from me to we. Learn how to create a window of tolerance that will allow you to maintain internal stability despite of what the world throws at you. And then, of course, the action is explore the role of our emotions and learn to manage and master how they can be channeled to help us create optimal health and well-being. So that may be a new term for some of you, optimal health and well-being. And so we're going to dive into that tonight. And of course, I want to bring forth this tonight. We may go long tonight and we may break this into 2 parts because Dr. A's suggestion for this is 2 to 4 weeks. So this is going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of dissection, but we're going to stew this down a little bit tonight and slow things down and go bit by bit. So Allie, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Kenny. One of the things that I love about this, and I was thinking about it today when I was out walking, is like Kenny said, a lot of us started off coming into this with a diet mentality, very focused on the fuelings and what they're doing. And I was thinking today, it's sort of like having a bad cold, and the fuelings are like cough syrup. So they keep they go in and they coat the throat and they keep you from coughing, which gives the throat a chance to kind of feel better, right? But what's causing the throat to be agitated is the sickness or the virus that you have. This is the antibiotics, right? So the cough syrup is great and it works, but the minute you quit taking it, if you still have the virus on board, what happens? All that stuff comes back in your throat, right? But you didn't really heal anything. You just gave it a break, right? And then when that was taken away, you still need you need to finish your course of antibiotics. So, what we have in this life book is finishing our course of antibiotics. Now, how many of you learned when you, like I learned this, I don't know, when I had children and they would have to have antibiotics, they always say, you've got to finish the antibiotics. If you just kind of take the antibiotics, if you take them until you feel better and then you stop, what happens? A lot of times we will get sick again. And now when we get sick again, it's even harder for those same antibiotics to do their job, right? Maybe you need to bring even more, a different kind of antibiotics on. This is the antibiotics that we're going to keep taking until we heal from the inside out. And that's the difference between a diet and a lifestyle journey. And like Kenny said, Kenny and I were on our third time through this, and Kenny and I spend a lot of time, fourth, fifth, I don't know, but Kenny and I spend a lot of time in element 4 and element 23, because one of the really amazing things that has to happen on this journey for you to have lifelong health and wellness is to get your mind to be able to be calm, because in the calm state, we're able to access our thinking brain, right? Instead of our emotional brain. We want to run from our thinking brain, because anything that we do in high emotion usually it can't be done with any kind of helpful thoughts, right? It's just a knee-jerk reaction. It's an impulsive reaction. So we want to be able to tune into our thinking brain. And we do that in calmness. So we've got to learn to navigate our life in a way that we can come back to a calm state and operate from our thinking brains rather than our Labrador brains. So Dr. A says on page 455, the world around us is volatile, uncertain, and becoming more complex. The only way we can assure our continued well-being is if we have the flexibility and resilience to adapt to changing conditions. Now, if we're too rigid, we get stuck, right? The conditions change, we rely on our past and what we've done in the past to guide us, which can lead to frustration or temptation, or just not help at all, because things have changed and we're still trying to use something that doesn't work anymore, right? When I was in my 20s, I could eat whatever the heck I wanted and exercise it off. Let me tell you what, this 40-year-old body's like, no, that doesn't work. Good luck with that. That doesn't work, right? So those old things don't work anymore, but it's amazing how quickly your brain will want to go back to something like that. The next thing is, now the second, so we can be too rigid, or we can react to change without much thought. We can create chaos, which leads to anxiety and sometimes anger and depression. So Dr. Anderson says, I have another option, and this is really great. Imagine creating a window of tolerance that would allow you to maintain internal stability despite what the world throws at you, so that you're in equilibrium with your external world, your relationships, and your ability to perform whatever the conditions. Now, y'all, this takes practice. It takes building awareness of our thoughts. It takes paying close attention to the nutrition that not just we're putting in our bodies, but that we're putting in our minds. Kenny is going to share a really cool illustration of a way to think about how we do that emotional management.
Ladies, I'll share this book with you all. It's called The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. Awesome book. So our coaches are breaking this book down chapter by chapter. So that's another benefit that you get as a coach, is you get this personal development where you can dive into these tools like this. But I want to read something in this book. And so just kind of let it stew for just a minute, but hear me on this. He says in the book, this chapter is called One More Emotion. It says, you have an emotional home that you live in. How you fill this home with the emotions you choose is the reality of your life more than anything else. Think about that. Think about that. We're going to come back to that book a little bit further into this, but I just wanted to read that tonight because he says all of us experience 5 or 6 consistent emotions in this home every day. And no matter what your life conditions are, you will find a way to get those emotions. Every one of us is conditioned to return to our emotional homes, even if those emotions don't serve us well. And I'll stop there because I can go on because this book is really good.
It's so good. But don't you love the illustration of that? That we have an emotional home that we create over our lifetimes. And we have emotions in that home that we feel comfortable with, even if they are emotions that are toxic. So building an awareness of those emotions and how they serve us. What's really interesting is, and you guys know I say it, I feel like I say it every week, Alton had anxiety and depression before she came to this journey. And so my emotional home had certain emotions in it that didn't serve me. but my brain wanted to go there because they were familiar, because they were what I had kind of developed this habit of going to. So it took building an awareness of when those emotions were trying to take control, and I had to go, nope, we're not doing that. And I basically clean, it's like cleaning the mold out of the house. Like I went around and I bleached all the walls, because that emotion I didn't want in there. It was not one that belonged. It wasn't appropriately assigned when certain things in my life would crop up. But because it was what had been an automatic response, I had to build an awareness to it, and I had to acknowledge it when it happened. And then I had to usher it out, like move it on through. I didn't bury it, I processed it. So we're learning to build an awareness of those emotions that are present, learn how to process them out, and move forwards. So Dr. Anderson said, we want to increase our awareness, improve our responses. So we want to learn to respond to our emotions rather than react from them. We want to give ourselves control of our choices in our lives, and we want to enjoy challenges as opportunities, right? Because it is a challenge to do that, to challenge those old emotions that want to come up and go, is this really the emotion I should be feeling right now? No. Let's process that through and keep moving. On page 456, this is amazing right here, this little yellow paragraph. By the time we reach 14 years old, most of us have the skills and capabilities required to function in the adult world. There's no burning need to develop further. We graduate from high school and either get a job or move on and go to college, and then we start our career. And so when we complete whatever level of schoolwork we complete, for most human beings, school is out on any internal work. I mean, we might get a new job and learn how to program in a new programming language, or we might become a mom and learn how to raise children. But I'll be honest, I didn't pick up any personal development books after college, between college and when I started this journey. I mean, I read all kinds of fun novels, or didn't read at all, read the Bible. I mean, that's got, I guess, some personal development stuff in it. But, other than that, I wasn't doing that. But that's the invisible work that holds the key to us being able to build the awareness and unlock this stuff that we're carrying around that doesn't serve us. And, we'll each be focusing in different books in different areas, depending on the emotional houses that we've built for ourselves, right? So this life book allows us to develop a progressively deeper understanding of ourselves. So many people, I think, when we start the program, I'm one of them, thought, oh, it's a diet book. I don't want to read this diet book. It's not it at all. It's this wonderful journey of self-discovery. It's this book asking me questions about myself that I'm like, wow, I never really thought to ask myself, or, oh, I never paid attention to how I respond to that, or how I float through that moment. It's just always been autopilot for me. So it's gives you that stop, challenge, choose, that pausing in these emotional moments, so that we can develop a deeper understanding of ourselves. The truth is, most people are oblivious to the fact they look through their lens with a very rigid perspective based on their level of maturity. I was like, wow, I never really thought about that before. I also feel 12 years old inside all the time, so it also kind of makes sense. This conscious path that we're going to develop, building this emotional awareness in this house we've created, is going to move you from an ego or self-orientated state to one of being more social and more aware of just kind of what we do, and how we grow and how we develop and how we heal has a ripple effect on the world around us. And then I circled this emotional agility. It comes with discomfort. It's discomfort's not a bad thing. A lot of times striving for comfort, we get stagnated in our lives. So building this emotional agility can make us uncomfortable. And it makes us uncomfortable because it's changing the interior of our house, this place we've grown familiar with. And it's uncomfortable to change. But as you make those changes, just like if you had a house that was riddled with mold, right? And you're like, well, I'm used to that smell, or I'm used to seeing the black slimy walls. This is where I live. Once you clean that out, though, all of a sudden you're able to breathe. All of a sudden you're healthy again. All of a sudden, you go, golly, I didn't realize that that was so bad for me. So we've got these wonderful questions that you can ask yourself. And I love this. Are you open-minded? Do you have a burning desire to grow? I didn't day one of this journey, but after I lost 50 pounds, you better believe I did. Because now all of a sudden I had faith in myself. I trusted that I was going to be able to conquer things again. Somewhere along the line, I'd lost the notion that I actually could accomplish anything anymore. And I was ready to do that. B, are you closed-minded, defensive, have a desperate need to be right? I did starting this program. I was a pain in the behind client. My poor coach. I love her because, man, I was a pain in the behind because I was that way. So we need to soften up our tendency to react rather than respond. Slowing down. That's what that whole stop, challenge, choose that we start at the very beginning of our journey does. It softens up our tendency to react rather than respond. We create that pause, and in that pause, we create awareness of our autopilot settings, our autopilot thoughts. The fuelings are making sure we feed our bodies right. But now we're going to start learning, what am I feeding my mind? What am I feeding my mind on a daily basis? It takes moving into the present state and knowing where you are in relation to your desire to grow versus your desire to be right. Wow, that was huge for me. Where are you in your relation to grow versus being right? I definitely think, again, as Kenny and I said, that this chapter pairs so beautifully with element 4. So, if you want to reread element 4 or go into YouTube and type in Habits of Health element 4 and listen to it while you're driving to work or while you're, driving around or folding laundry or whatever, it's a really beautiful coupling of this concept and really just kind of showing you from beginning to where you're really getting into the meat of it. And then also read all of your responses and notes from element 4. And, now that we're all the way in element 23, for those of you who have been with us since the beginning and are moving to element 23 with us, go back and look at what's changed in terms of your perspective and perceptions. For those that you are just starting your journey and you're joining us tonight, no worries. When you get to element 4, answer those questions, because when you get to element 23, you'll want to go back and you'll see how much you've grown and how much awareness you've built since we started way back then. As you reflect on how you've grown and you've learned and installed your new habits, you'll see that your transformation's underway. So for those of you, so I'm 6 years in to my journey. I have developed such an awareness doing this. There is no way I would go back to the Allison who started this journey 6 years ago, because I'm too aware of stuff. It would not, you go back to it when you're not aware. That's when it sneaks up on you. That's why this is so important, completing this part of the journey, because when you're not aware, all of a sudden you find yourself back where you were. When you build that awareness, it doesn't sneak up on you anymore. That is what is so important. When you build this awareness, it's not in charge. You're in charge. The emotional agility on how we deal with our inner world drives everything in our lives. Dr. Anderson's very honest here. He says it's a bit scary, but it'll be worth it. Think of it as a series of lab experiments to open up your thinking and start exploring all the cool stuff you're capable of doing. Y'all, I'm trying to remember where I saw this the other day, but it was talking about when you have an addiction and you keep, your brain keeps sending you to the same things over and over again, even though they don't serve you anymore. When your brain has that programmed in it, to interrupt that programming and make it stop and put something else there for the brain to grab, it's very uncomfortable feeling. And sometimes you might not even trust that whatever that new thing is going to be even better than what the old thing was. I mean, it is, but you don't trust it yet. And it's in that weird in-between time that is uncomfortable. But just trust the process. Trust keeping and working on it, because it will get to where your brain doesn't want to grab for the other stuff anymore. It wants to grab the new because you've built that awareness. How important is it to develop your mind and grow beyond? It's very important. You know, like one of the things that we've learned on this journey, or a lot of the things, are the 6 healthy habit areas. Things like sleep. You know, you're not going to have good control of your emotions if you don't have a good, healthy sleep habit going on. Hydration, nutrition, fueling yourself well. If you don't feel good, that's when the Labrador brain wants to run the show. So it all works beautiful together, like a tapestry. You know, your healthy surroundings. What's going in your mind? Who are the people that you're hanging around with? Are they uplifting people? Are there people that are growing? Are they people that are excited about what's next? Or are they people that are always trying to pull you and telling you you're being crazy and calm down? And why do you need to be any different than the way you are today? And, you know, just, you got to think about all those things. All of that is part of that beautiful tapestry that helps us heal and become the emotional masters of our mind. Our emotions affect us every second of every single day. Emotion drives action. So if you don't have control over your emotions, you don't have control over your actions. And it's interesting because my husband and I are 2 very different people. I come from a family where we bury it. He comes from a family where they explode. Just immediately explode it all out. Okay, I don't think either of those is great. I think we, you know, we're finding a happy medium there, but it's so important. The deep, ancient, and central role in directing our brain and mind is only just unfolding as our understanding of our interpersonal neurobiology grows. So the beautiful thing is, I don't care what you've been through in your life, in your past, whether it's been traumatic or whether you've had a pretty, you know, calm, peaceful life, it doesn't matter. The neurobiology is there for you to harness and reprogram. Nothing is set in stone. Every single day that you wake up, you have an opportunity to make new choices, to get uncomfortable and heal this brain from the inside out, take control of those emotions, and live in a better way. And it's baby steps. Like, you're not going to wake up and be the queen of, nah, everything just rolls off my back. My car just exploded in the garage and set the house on fire, but I'm good. Like, you know, it's not going to be like that. But you know, you're just going to be able to navigate your day where all the little things that used to just set you off and derail you, they're going to flow off of you like water off a duck's back. So that is the goal of Elements 23 and Elements 4. And it is, you know, it is the antibiotics of our healing. So this is something you're going to keep taking, these antibiotics, until they do their job and you are a responder rather than a reactor to life. Kenny, do you want to pop in?
I was just going to see if you wanted to jump into that equanimity part.
Yeah, I will. So again, back in this amazing little book by Ed Mylett, it's really wild. So the chapter that we're reading as coaches this week, I said, Kenny, it goes so beautifully with what we're talking about in the life book. And so there's a quote by Viktor E. Frankl, who is a neurologist, a psychiatrist, and a Holocaust survivor. And he says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And I was like, wow, that goes so beautifully with what Dr. Anderson is talking about. So they call this equanimity, this inner peace, this calmness that you can control, you know, to control your emotions when everything's going crazy around you. And it says equanimity is achieving serenity and mental calmness in a world filled with stressors. So nobody's going to be perfect at it all the time. So many things affect our ability to control our emotions, like I was saying, those other healthy habit areas. But Dr. Anderson arms us with the awareness of, hey, girl, you need 8 hours of sleep. Or, sir, you need to drink those that water every day, that 64 plus ounces. You need to be fueling your body on a regular basis. You need to be eating things that aren't going to make your blood sugar spike and drop and spike and drop and spike and drop. You need to be surrounding yourself with people who aren't trying to pull you back to where you were because your healing makes them uncomfortable. You need to be around people who are cheering you on and are excited for you, but also maybe doing things and accomplishing things that's inspiring you to go, you know what, I can do that, right? All of these things. Healthy motion. Am I getting out in the sunshine? Y'all, I walk every day, and I've been doing that since August, and it's one of the best things I've done to help me control my emotions. Seems totally unrelated, but just going out walking, getting some sunshine and some fresh air does wonders for how Allison responds to stress and chaos in her life. So, all of these things, again, are this beautiful tapestry that work together. Kenny, do we want to stop here and then start next week with talking about mismanaged emotions and where we go with that?
Yeah.
We're right at that 30-minute mark. So I want to honor everyone's time. That's page 462, y'all. I figure next week we can hop back into element 23. We'll start here at page 462 with mismanaged emotions.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and stop recording. I want to
Okay.
give